Hi, it's Mark Rye with HLB, and I'm speaking with Cooper Sleeman of Spring Mill Distillery about the amazing facility that they've built in Guelph, Ontario, the products they're producing there, and a little IT as well. Hi, Cooper. Thanks for your time today.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
The first thing I wanted to ask you was, I know this was a very large project that you took on to get the distillery up and going and running as it is now. And I'm wondering, what advice might you have, having gone through that? I'm sure you've learned a lot. What advice might you have for someone who has a big project on the horizon that you might want to pass along?
Well, I think it's a great question. We spent a lot of time and effort trying to find the right financial backing before jumping into a project of this size. I mean, no one's built a distillery this large in Canada in 25 years. And when you're walking around Bay Street trying to convince people to buy into it, you can run into some challenges. So I think the first most important thing you can do is get a solid financial group or a group of shareholders or investors behind you that are willing to be patient and understand what your long-term vision is. On a bit of a side note and a joking note, if there's anything I've learned from trying to put this together, I wouldn't recommend trying to put a very large distillery in a 200-year-old building. Inherently, there are some challenges with the structure and the nature of what we're doing here, but nonetheless, we love the building we're in, and we had to be patient. And we also needed to understand that the contingency fund, the oopsie fund, needed to be relatively large because understanding how things are going to go, current climates, when trying to build this out, you need to be prepared for the worst. And sometimes what you think is the worst is not even remotely close to the worst. And we certainly went through those sorts of things here trying to get this up and running, and it required the patience of many people, including our own patience. So, a project of this size requires patience and a strong belief and a good group of shareholders.
That's good feedback. Now, it is a really unique spot that you have there, and I encourage anybody who's local or has an opportunity to get to the facility to take a tour and see exactly what you're talking about. That 200-year-old building that is now full of state-of-the-art equipment. It's really something to see. So kudos to the team, and yeah, if you get the chance to see it, it's definitely worth seeing.
And we're happy to start hosting people again. With all the lockdowns and things. So happy to have people come back.
Yeah, that's great. Now, one of the things you decided very early on in this process to outsource or find a partner to manage your IT. Obviously, you had a lot of things on the go, as opposed to really trying to build that skill set internally and staff that internally. And HLB has been filling that role really from the very beginning. What went in? Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about what went into that original decision to outsource your IT needs.
I think that's a great question, and our relationship with HLB, having you guys be a part of it from the very beginning, has been a strength of ours. We are in the booze making business, from the brewery here in Guelph to the various spirits we're now distilling here. We're no good at IT. And unfortunately, I've got my father's traits of not being able to work my phone even, let alone the necessary requirements for cybersecurity and all these sorts of things. So aligning up with a partner at the very beginning was important to us. And no matter how much or how many people we could get in here with the IT experience, it doesn't compare to having a team behind you that are experts in all sorts of different fields. So, getting cameras installed, the purchasing power that you have versus what we would have. So it's really all angles of IT. Working with a partner who specializes in it is important because when you're in a startup like this, it's tremendously difficult to get all the assets, all the people, and everything you need from an experience standpoint. Especially when you're in the early stages of a business, and cash flow can at times be a challenge. So working with a team has been important, and it's with HLB and it's with our other partners as well.
Right. No, that's great feedback. Thanks for that. Now, this is either going to be the most difficult question I ask you or the easiest. What has personally been your favorite product that you've released at the distillery so far?
That's a great question, and it changes by the season. That's for sure. We've made some incredible limited release products that are some liqueurs that are wildly popular at various different times. So we have one that's almost got a cult following over the holidays called our Allspice, and we have a ginger and lime that's extremely popular during the summer. But what has taught me the most about the spirits business, because we're beer guys, right? Jumping into the spirit side. What's taught me the most about the spirits industry is actually vodka, and our premium vodka that we have is highly rectified, distilled 146 times using soft red winter wheat sourced here in Ontario. When we first started this, I thought vodka was a vodka. But when you make a handcrafted and care about every element of what you're making, you can create some pretty unique products. And our vodka, I truly believe, is unique. And it's changed my view on vodka as a whole. It's got this fantastic kind of buttered toast sweetness to it that comes from the wheat that we use. And we did a little study before we started, the whole plan to build the distillery. But what kind of grain should we be using to ultimately result in the best spirit we can possibly make? And year after year, wheat-based spirits win taste panels every single year. So it was important we went with wheat, and using Ontario-based wheat and Canadian wheat. One summer we actually had to source our wheat from Alberta because we had a bit of a wet summer here and it didn't work out all that well. But it's changed my perspective on things, and the people that have had an opportunity to try it have become quite loyal followers.
I bet. I'm always excited to stop by the distillery for that point that you mentioned early on there, is that often there's a new release or a limited release or something on the shelf that I haven't seen, right? So
yeah, and the most recent ones of those would be our barrel aged gin program, which has been very interesting. Taking our premium gin and putting it in various different barrels for 9 months, and it's amazing what different woods and what was in that barrel previously can have an impact on what comes out in such a short time. So that's our most recent kind of fun limited run that we've done, and it's been quite popular.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to try that one, and I highly recommend it. Getting back to IT for a second, can you speak to the quality of the service that HLB has been providing, and really tell us a little bit about what do you value about the team at HLB specifically, and what we're doing for you?
Well, I actually value it quite highly. The relationship that you and I have, where if something happens, I can pick up the phone and call you. I'm not calling a call center on some other side of the planet. I'm calling a guy that lives here in Guelph and is an expert. And if rarely do you not know the answer to something, you have someone part of your team who does.
Right.
What I value is the fact that you're a small company, a local company that has quite a strong impact on my business, but you're still willing to be flexible and work around my specific needs. You're not shopping out big buying programs for every company X, Y, and Z. You're able to be craft, if you will, which is kind of what we are, right? So that aspect of your business at HLB is important to us, and the skill set that you provided is something we don't have, and so I would say it's hugely valuable for us.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that we enjoy a lot in our business is getting to know our clients' business and being involved in their business, right? And it's a unique opportunity for us to be involved in a lot of things, and this is certainly a very interesting company and set of products to be involved with. The pandemic, the past 2 years, has caused so many challenges for individuals and businesses alike. But if we get beyond the challenges, it's also been an opportunity to take a look inwards and within an organization and maybe make some changes or take time or resources that you didn't have or reassociate them to tackle something different. What is something that you accomplished or focused on or realized during the pandemic that you think will make the distillery stronger going forward?
I think the fact that we made it through, but I would say that the biggest move for us was reevaluating and trying to adapt to the changing consumer trends. I'm sure you went through something very similar with everybody now working from home, having to adapt your business practice and move quickly,
Right.
and which you did well in helping us get to that point. But we had always had plans to diversify our portfolio to reach different consumers. That's one of the strengths at the brewery, right? We have premium beers, we have premium import beers. We also have value beers, value-based beers for that style consumer. We always wanted to get into that segment of the market, being a value producer, and COVID pushed us in that direction. We very early on noticed that consumer change, that this pandemic's here to stay for a while, and the consumer is not going to have disposable income like they once had. A lot of people are going to be out of jobs or changing circumstances at home that no longer allows for them to drink this premium product. However, the human ability to consume alcohol is not going to go away. It's a part of our culture.
Right.
And so we knew that was coming based on the practices that we had from the brewery. So we pretty quickly changed our sales forecast and incorporated a value brand that we distill here that reaches a completely different consumer group. And that was to protect us as we saw that we were probably going to lose a lot of volume as a result of this pandemic. So moving quickly there and adapting was something that we can do now because we're a small company here.
Yeah, that's a great example and something that those product lines can stay with you going forward now, right? So that's a great example. From an IT perspective, HLB designed your IT systems from the beginning really to be a cloud-first approach with Microsoft 365 at the core of that. I'm curious to get your thoughts on how is that Microsoft 365 and cloud with email and files being not on premise, but in the cloud and accessible everywhere. How has that impacted your role specifically as you work to promote the distillery and need access to that information?
Yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, as I mentioned earlier, I'm probably the least techie 20-something-year-old kid on the planet. So when you came to the table and introduced us to that, I had my hesitations about my ability to make it work. Your team was very clear and very easy to work with, which was great. And the upper management team here are all kind of the same age and are used to the same business practices that they had at one time from 20 years ago at the brewery. And so changing things up we were nervous about it. But ultimately what has happened is an extremely easy interface to use and work with that allows for us to work from home, work from another country, work from everywhere, and also do work on the same file, which for us is really huge. We are consistently manipulating and changing our sales forecast and our production schedule because of the everyday changing society that we're in. Just last week, when restaurants were able to go to full capacity and vaccine certificate was no longer mandatory in bars and restaurants and movie theaters and such here in Ontario, our forecast changes because of that. But we didn't see that coming. It just kind of happened. So our ability to jump online, go in and manipulate these forms and work together as if we're all at the same table when we're not, because some of us are working from home. These announcements sometimes come out at 8 o'clock at night and somebody's out and about and we're able to get around the table from a cloud tech perspective and still achieve the same goals. So it's made it quite easy for us to get our work done, and things don't need to be pushed off until Monday when we're all back. We can just jump in and get things moved, because sometimes if you wait 2 days, you're late to the party and you don't have the right labels and you don't have the right bottles and you don't have enough of this or that. And so the ability to work quickly together is hugely important, and I'm so grateful that you brought it forward to us.
Those are great real world examples. Thanks for passing that along. One thing I've noticed is that Spring Mill Distillery has quickly become a part of the local business community, being involved in events and holding events. I'm curious from your perspective, how important are those connections and the tie to the local community here in Guelph?
Extremely important. And there's many different reasons why, and it's ultimately part of the reason why we elected to work with you at the beginning. And it's something I noted earlier is having you down the road and able to call you and help fix a problem when something's gone massively wrong is vital to us. And the community is vital to us. We want to make sure that we're looking after our community first. And so an example of this would be, I think pre-pandemic, there was some form of award event night here in Guelph. And, you know, I walk through the front door and who's standing there? You are.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's great. You can, working with the community and with partners in the community allows you to build stronger relationships because you're put in front of them more often. And we're all in this for the better of our community. So you might as well work within it. And, you know, a good example of this too is during the pandemic, we elected to make hand sanitizer. And we decided very early on that this was not going to be a profit endeavor for us. We wanted to return the liquid to our community, and in particular our hospital, who took a lot of it, at the same cost that we make it at. There's many other distilleries in the province and also bulk producers in foreign countries that made a lot of money off of hand sanitizer because they were price gouging. Right. And we decided we weren't going to do that, and we don't stand for that, and that's not what we do. So we delivered a lot of hand sanitizer into the community, and the nice thing is that the community has come back and returned the favor by coming in and visiting us and working, you know, to spread the word about us and you know, return the favor. So, and that's what you need to do for your community. You know, our hospital was in dire need of hand sanitizer and couldn't get any. So we stopped making vodka and moved pretty quickly to get that done. And everyone's been very grateful. So we're proud of this community. We've been working in this community since 1988. And I look forward to educating my children about the importance of working here in Guelph when I get the opportunity.
Well said, and thanks for everything that you did do throughout the pandemic. And like you said, it's the right thing to do. You're helping out people, and it's the right way to do business because it all comes back around for sure. Mm-hmm. This has been a great conversation. I could chat with you for much longer for sure. But I'm going to close with one more question, and it's really looking forward down the product lines that you have coming down the pipe. What are you excited about in 2022, or is there anything you want to share with us that we should be keeping an eye out for?
I think you're leading there with that. I like it. First and foremost, I'm excited because for the first time in 2.5 or 2 years, I do feel a little bit like the pandemic is behind us, right? Or at least we're learning to live with it, which is always a struggle to work with, but I'm really looking forward to that this year, and I hope it happens. I hope that we all can rally and stand up and have some fun, and hopefully no one gets sick, and hopefully this just kind of goes away. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. Yeah. But this distillery was built on a cocktail napkin in 2010 by my father and our now master distiller at an establishment in the south end of Guelph. And the idea behind it was to make whiskeys. And a lot of producers here in Ontario and other parts of this country, and actually all around the world, buy aged spirits and blend them in-house and are able to turn them around the next day. And it makes a lot of sense from a cash flow perspective. But the idea with this particular distillery was to make everything grain to glass and be in control of what we are releasing to the public through and through. And in order to do that, you need to age the spirit in a whiskey barrel for a certain amount of time. And so 12 years ago, the idea was born about making a distillery that focuses on whiskey and makes world-class whiskeys that are proud to be Canadian. And I'm happy to say that this year will be our first whiskey release in the summer. Wow. It is based off of a traditional American bourbon, aged exactly the same way. However, we can't call it bourbon, so I'll give you a little sneak peek. It will be called traditional straight whiskey. I'm hopeful that the customers will understand that straight whiskey and associate straight whiskey with the traditional bourbons So I'm excited about that launch. It's been a long time coming, and we wouldn't have been able to get here without the flexibility and the support of our partners, including yourself, and all of our partners, to get us to this point. And once the whiskey comes out, we're not looking back. We've got different whiskeys coming out. We've got all sorts of different products that we've been playing with and laying down for the last number of years. And it's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication and a lot of sleepless nights to get to this point. And I'm happy to say that it's finally here.
Yeah, I am excited to see the whiskeys come out, to taste those. And I know I've tasted many of the spirits along the way. The quality of product that you're producing it's amazing. You have all the equipment, you're doing it right from the ground up. So I can't wait to see what comes out of those whiskey barrels. That's going to be exciting for sure.
Yeah, me neither.
I bet. All right. This has been great. I appreciate it, Cooper. Spending a bit of time to chat about this. It's been great working with you, the partnership. I think we're very much aligned with our viewpoint on the community and working together. And, we wish you much success moving forward.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for your time today.